But be that as it may, so I'm going to simply jump to the conclusion and make one point about cognitive domination and try to define what it means. So cognitive domination simply means that those who colonize us, the white settler colonizers, or the white settler minority, has given unto itself the responsibility to craft concepts and categories with which we think about our own reality. So even to think about our own misery of being colonized, we have to turn to concepts and categories that have been given to us by the same settler colonial minority. And there's no better way of demonstrating this than returning you for the last time to Lord Hayle's, or rather taking you differently to a different study this time around. In 1929, coincidentally, Jan Smuts was the Prime Minister of South Africa, lost elections in 1924 when Herzog won. Jan Smuts in 1929 got invited to deliver the Rhodes Memorial Lectures at Oxford University. Now his object in those memorial lectures was the native question. He was called upon to answer the native question. Simply, the question was how best to dominate the natives. In trying to answer the question, Jan Smuts said, well, there is something that you must do before you legislate. You do not just rush into legislating. First, you must understand the psychology of those and the character of those that you are going to be legislating for. As he says, and I quote, one does not begin by laying down laws good in themselves, but by investigating the fitness of the people for which they are destined to receive them. So Jan Smuts' point to his audience, to his erudite audience at Oxford, was that he can't just tell them what the laws that need to be passed in order to govern the natives are, but he says, first you must understand the fitness, you must investigate the fitness of those for which the laws are meant to receive them. And so he expends a lot of ink outlining the character of the native. And this is how he writes about the native. And I want to quote him, and that's where I would end. The Negro and the Negroid Bantu form a distinct human type. This type has some wonderful characteristics. It has largely remained a child type, with a child psychology and outlook. A childlike human cannot be a bad human. For are we not in spiritual matters bidden to be like unto little children? Perhaps as a direct result of this temperament, the African is the only happy human I've come across. No other race is so easily satisfied, so good-tempered, so carefree. If this had not been the case, it could scarcely have survived the intolerable evils which have weighed on it like a nightmare through the ages. A race which could survive the immemorial practice of the slave trader and preserve its inherent simplicity and sweetness of disposition must have some very fine moral qualities. The African easily forgets past troubles. This happy-go-lucky disposition is a great asset, but it has also its drawbacks. There is no inward incentive to improvement. There is no persistent effort in construction, and there is complete absorption in the present, its joys and sorrows. Wine, women, and song in their African forms. So even wine and women have their own African forms. Wine, women, and song in their African forms remain the great consolations of life. These children of nature have not the inner toughness and persistence of the European, nor those social and moral incentives to progress. It is clear that a race so unique and so different in its mentality and cultures from those of Europe requires a policy very unlike that which suits Europeans. This is Jan Smuts. Cognitive domination manifests itself in the fact that present-day University of Cape Town has a hall of residence named Jan Smuts Hall. It is not uncommon to find at UCT young black intellectuals, young students, wearing t-shirts or sweaters written Jan Smuts Hall. How would a person venerate or memorialize someone who thought so lowly about himself or herself? Thank you very much.
There was a microphone.